Today what we are going to find, more thing is we're going to solve for unknown angles using Trig Inverse, okay? Trig Inverse. So the Trig Inverse is that little button right there, okay? It's that -1 button. Of course, what we did in our reading was we found that little button on our calculator. That little button on our calculator is right down here, but it's in blue. Sine -1, cosine -1, and tangent -1. What those buttons do is they find the angle. So if you want to find the angle, you absolutely have to push those buttons. If you don't need to find the angle, or if you have the angle, don't push those buttons, but push sine inverse, cosine inverse, and tangent inverse if you want to find an angle, okay? So let's take a look at it. So example 1. Here we have triangle MNP, and what we need to do is find, first of all, angle P, okay? So the rules, here we go, step by step. Step 1, pick an acute angle to solve for. So it always starts with the angle. You know why it always starts with the angle? Because once you establish your angle, then you establish the name of your sides. Because we need to come up with the names of our sides so we can use any of those three ratios, right? So when you pick your angle, all of a sudden it establishes that this is the opposite side because it's directly opposite of angle P. This is the adjacent side because it's next to my angle I picked, right? And then this is my hypotenuse. So you always have to pick your angle first, because once you pick your angle, then you get to your sides. If I pick the other angle, my names would be switched around, opposite and adjacent. So you pick your angle first so that you can name your sides, okay? Step 2, use the given sides. Well, in this case, I have two sides I can use. I can use my 8 and my 6. Those are my two sides I know, okay? Now step 3, it's the same stuff, isn't it? Set up the correct trig ratio. So if I have the adjacent and the hypotenuse, if I have the adjacent hypotenuse, I look up there, adjacent hypotenuse, I'm going to set it up. So I'm going to go, okay, adjacent hypotenuse has got to be cosine, so I'll go cosine of theta equals my adjacent over my hypotenuse, because that's what the ratio says up there, right? That's what my cosine ratio is. But I don't want theta. Theta is my angle, but the angle I want is P, and the adjacent is 6, and the hypotenuse is 8, so let's put those numbers in. So let's go cosine of P is equal to, in this case, it's my adjacent, which is 6 over my 8. Okay. Now, if I want to find the angle, step 4 says use the trig inverse. Okay. So I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to go cosine inverse, because it's cosine of 6 over 8. And I'm just going to use my calculator, okay? So, all right, so let's go and do that. Let's go cosine inverse of 6 divided by 8, and I get an answer of about 41.41, or how about 41.4? So I'm going to get angle P, the measure of angle P is about 41.4 degrees. Thumbs up, I want to see it. Thumbs up. If sideways, be honest if it's sideways. Okay, all right. Megan, you're good. Nice, okay. Jaden? Okay, we'll keep going, okay? So now, we can find out the rest of this triangle pretty easily because angle N, once we have this one's 41.4, right? We know that these two angles together make 90, right? Don't these two angles make 90? So if I want to find the other angle, I'm just going, okay, 90 degrees minus my 41.4, and that's going to give me angle N, right? And then 90 minus 41.4, I get about 48.6 for angle N, right? And then finally, if I want to find little p and m, or little p, I can just use Pythagoras theorem, right? I can just set up, and I go, okay, let's do this. Let's go my p squared plus my 6 squared equals 8 squared, right? Just use Pythagoras theorem. So I'd have p p squared equals 8 squared minus 6 squared. And I'm just going to use my calculator to do that. Why not, right?
8 squared?
Yeah. Yeah, 8, right? 6, yeah.
Wait, I thought you were using the triangle below.
Oh, I haven't done that one yet. Nope. I'm going to do that one. That's my next example here. Let me just do that. How's that? Does that help? There we go. Yeah. Thanks, Katie. 8 squared minus 6 squared. 28, and I'll take the square root of 28, and whatever that is. And that's about 5.3, okay? So a little p is about 5.3, okay? All right, now, number 7. Why don't you try to find? So first of all, before we do anything, step 1. Jaden, you get to do step 1. Which angle do you want to find? Which angle? You get to decide. You pick which angle. Don't say I, by the way. I already know that one. Okay, G. Okay, so we're going to find angle G. Do it. Find angle G. Who was thumb sideways? Coming back, okay? Yep. Okay, which one's it going to be? Look up there. They're easy, aren't they? This is easier than yesterday's stuff, isn't it? So let theta be G, so sine of G equals 7 over 13, right? Okay. You're going to find the angle, but you have to push.
The inverse.
The inverse, right? Okay, right? So, what? 7 divided by 13. You want to show 100? Okay. All right, so, what'd you get for an answer? 32 point what? 57. Everybody agree? How many people got that answer? 32.7? 57? Yes, no? 1, 2, okay, everybody? So, again, once you establish your angle, you've given all of these sides names. This is my opposite, this is my adjacent, and that's my hypotenuse, right? So, if I go to angle G, and I know my 7 is my opposite. I know my 13. So you got to pick the two sides you know. Opposite, hypotenuse. It's got to be sine, right? Opposite, hypotenuse. So it's sine of theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. But it's not theta. It's G, right? It's G, not theta. So it's sine of G is equal to the 7 over the 13, right? But if I want to find the angle, I have to use the inverse button. So let's go sine inverse of 7 over 13. And then if we use our calculator, right, we're going to go sine inverse of 7 divided by 13. And we get an answer of about 32.57. Right? Everybody good? Okay, and we can solve the rest pretty easily. Let's turn the page, okay? Turn the page, everybody good? All right, now. All right, example number 4. Well, here's a parallelogram. And the sides are 12 and 8, right? So let's find all the angles. Well, I know that's 90 there. So before we do anything, it's called right triangle trig, right? So if it's called right triangle trig, let's take a look at a right triangle, okay? So let's give it some names. For instance, let's call it A, B, C, D. How's that? Let's give it a name, A, B, C, D. So how about if we found angle C? You guys okay with angle C? So step 1, I'll do step 1. I'll pick the angle. Let's pick angle C, right? Step 1, pick an angle, solve for. Step 2, what's step 2 say? What's step 2 say? Oh, I think I've got that side and that side, don't I? So use the two given sides. So from that angle, that's my adjacent, right? And that's my hypotenuse, because there's my 90, right? So if it's adjacent hypotenuse, I've got to figure out which one am I going to use. Adjacent hypotenuse, which one's it going to be? Cosine. So it's cosine of angle C, because that's the angle I want. I don't need to write theta. We all know theta means angle, right? Is equal to the adjacent, which is 8 over 12, right? But what we need to do is actually find the angle, so we have to use the inverse, right? Inverse, we're going to have to use our inverse button. Inverse button, so we're going to go cosine inverse of my 8 over my 12, right? So I'm going to go, okay, cosine inverse of my 8 divided by 12, and I get an answer about 48.2. Yeah, about 48.2. So if that's 48.2, that's 48.2 because it's a parallelogram, right? So I know also angle B is 48.2. And what about angle D? Well, it's 90 plus this angle, okay? How about that angle? What do you know about that angle right there? It is. So let's find that angle. Well, they all add up to, here's my 180 or my 90, so let's just go 90 minus my 48.2, right? Because those two have to add up to 90. So it's 90 minus my 48.2, and I get about a 41.8. And so if I add that to 90, right, I'll get angle D, right? So angle D is plus 90. I get about 131.8 degrees. Okay? Do you guys think this is easier than yesterday? Maybe?
Yes.
Good. All right, finally, example 5. Find all missing angles and sides. Well, let's do it. We can do this. 4, 1. There's D, right? 4, negative 2. There's E. Negative 2, negative 2. There's F. Got to draw my triangle. I know that's a right angle, right? Well, some of these sides are easy, okay? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can just count that, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom, that's just 6. I got that. That one's 1, 2, 3. Boom, I got that. That's 3, okay? So let's find little e first. How about we go for the easy stuff? Let's find little e, huh? A little bit of Pythagorean's theorem. Am I going too fast? Okay. So I just counted 6. I just counted 3. I call this little e because it's opposite of angle e, little e. So let's just do Pythagorean's theorem. Okay, I can do that. 6 squared plus 3 squared equals little e squared, right? 36 plus 9 equals little e squared. That's a bad looking e, isn't it? Little e. Little e looks like an L. Square root of 45 is little e. Now I know what the square root of 45 is.
6.7.
There we go. I do now. 6.7. Thanks, Katie. That was easy. Now what about the angles, huh? What about the angles? So, Mason, which angle do you want to find? Don't say E already. No E.
F.
F it is, okay? So if Mason picks F, I've got my 3 and I have my 6, right? But the 3 has a name. What's the name of this side?
Opposite.
Opposite. And I've got this side. What's the name of that side? Adjacent. And I could use E, but I'm not because I had to round it. I could. It's just a rounded answer. I prefer not to use rounded answers, okay? My accuracy just decreases. Okay, so what am I going to use? Opposite, adjacent. Nicole, which one am I going to use? Opposite, adjacent. Which one am I going to use? Opposite, adjacent. Nicole, which one am I going to look? Look up there, Nicole. Opposite, adjacent. Which one is it going to be?
Opposite.
Yeah, so which one of those 3 should I use? Opposite, adjacent. Which one am I going to use? Tangent is right. So tangent of F is equal to the opposite, which is 3, over the adjacent, which is 6, right? Okay, let's do a little bit of math magic here. Tangent inverse of 3 over 6, right? And we'll use our calculator, which is the magic part. Tan inverse of 3 divided by 6, and I get an answer about 26.56 or 26.6. And what about angle D? That's angle F. What about angle D? How am I going to find angle D? 90 minus 26.6. And I get an answer about 63.4 degrees. Okay, do you think this is pretty easy? Right? I agree. So if you need help, I'm here to help. We do need to do the assignment though, okay? Because practice really makes a big difference, okay?